a cantar esta canción con mucho cariño de mi corazón a la República Dominicana, la casa del merengue y la casa de la bachata. Voy a cantar esta canción con mucho cariño de mi corazón a la República Dominicana, la casa del merengue y la casa de la bachata.
As a follower of the motorcycle industry, I've seen firsthand the changing landscape of where in the world motorcycles are manufactured. And over the last 10 years, I've seen the landscape change dramatically. So in today's episode, we're going to take a look at where the top manufacturers are positioned to make their motorcycles. I think some of the results might surprise you.
A la República Dominicana, la casa del merengue y la casa de la bachata.
First off, Asia and China have really evolved into delivering some high quality manufacturing for most of the major motorcycle brands. In fact, the plants that they use, they're modern, they're efficient, they're high quality, they have process control, they use worldwide standards, and I can tell you that the stigma of poor quality and all that really has disappeared. Far from that. All right, Honda Motorcycles, the granddaddy. I think they're at the top of the list worldwide for all the production of motorcycles. And regarding quality, Honda has a very good reputation for quality. At the same time, they are not immune from having some issues. And for those of us Honda Goldwing owners, we can talk about a couple of these things that have happened since the 2018 6th generation model came out. What are they? Well, number one, this is more of a personal issue, not a major recall, but on my 2018 Honda Goldwing, I had the DCT Tour model. I was on a group trip with the Group 66 Motorcycle Club, and it started happening, the issue started happening for me when we got down to the Memphis area, and I had one heck of a time trying to get my bike in gear. And what it was is the DCT switch on the right handlebar cluster was going bad. And so it took me minutes to wiggle it and finesse it and try to get that bike into gear. I'm thinking, wow, what the heck is going to happen next? So I was able to limp home, made it home a couple of days later, talked to the Honda dealer. They came and picked the bike up. They did the analysis, talked to Honda technicians, and it was in fact, and it was covered under warranty, it was in fact the DCT switch. And so thank goodness, because that was right around $900 or $1,000 with parts and labor to replace that switch. So I'm glad it was under warranty. So as far as the Honda Goldwing goes, there's a couple other recall issues that they've had. You'll recall the fuel pump. So they had quite a few fuel pumps that needed to be replaced on the Honda Goldwing. Now, not a big deal because the access to the pump right under the seat is easy. It had to be done by a dealer so it could be recorded. But there were a bunch of models, I think in 18 and 19, maybe in 2020 as well, that were affected. So that was one recall. And then the very latest one, which I think was kind of a bigger deal, though there were not a lot of frequencies of this issue, but it was the primary bolt recall. And so that had to do with removing parts of the engine from the backside and getting that bolt out of there. Boy, that's quite a process, but that was the second thing. So the point is, Honda and even the flagship model Goldwing was not immune to some quality issues, but it probably related more to the suppliers to Honda than it did Honda itself. But what did Honda do? they stood behind it. They were great. They did the right thing. So what about Honda and where are they building bikes? Well, there's a bunch of countries, obviously Japan, their headquarters, but they are making things in China at their factory there. There's Thailand, and there's Brazil, and there's India. So they're utilizing all that, and it really depends on where those bikes, where their destination is in terms of what they use. But one story I can tell you for Honda, this goes to the Honda Metropolitan. They're very well-known scooter, and it was back in 2013, so more than 10 years ago. They shifted the manufacturing of that to China, to their China manufacturing facility. And so since then, that has been produced there, and it continues to be really a top perennial scooter. You see them all over college campuses, and they continue to have a really good mark and a high quality rating. So there you go. Honda has got lots of plants all over the world, and they're doing a good job. And lastly, what about Honda warranties? Well, it varies a little bit based on the model that you buy. And Honda does have some good Honda protection plans that you can add warranty to. But let's start with the Goldwing. The Goldwing comes standard with a 3-year unlimited mile warranty. So you're paying a lot for that motorcycle, and it's nice that a 3-year warranty comes with it. There's quite a few models that are 1 year, and I'm not positive, but there might be a couple models that have a 2-year warranty, but most of the others are just 1 year. Let's take a look at Triumph Motorcycles and what they're doing. So I've owned several Triumph motorcycles over the last 10 to 12 years. I've had the Bonneville, the T120. I've had the Tiger Triumph 1200 adventure bike. And most recently, I've really enjoyed the smaller displacement single cylinder 400X. That's the Triumph Scrambler 400X. And now I have the Triumph Scrambler 400XC. Well, guess what? Guess where those are made? Those are made in India. And it is made by the company called Bajaj. Bajaj, yeah, that's, I think, how you say it. B-A-J-A-J. So there's a plant there. Triumph has partnered with that company. They are an automotive company as well. And so when I first looked at the 400 Scrambler, and I thought about, wow, the fit, the finish, the quality, the paint, how everything works, it's really good. So from a quality standpoint, I think Triumph is doing an excellent job in their attention to those details. Triumph's main manufacturing does occur in Hinckley, England, and a lot of the models are made there. As far as warranty goes, most of the bikes that they produce are 2 years, 2-year warranty, and so that's good. That's certainly better than 1 year, but it shows reasonable commitment to stand behind their product. All right, let's talk about BMW motorcycles. We've got one sitting right over here, the 2020 RT, the 1250 RT. It's been a fantastic bike. Let's talk about their perception of quality and engineering, and I think a lot of people would agree that it's top-notch. They really strive to be a leader in quality. There's some that would say, well, it's a little bit over-engineered. Some would say that those bikes are a little overpriced, but you get what you get, and BMW does a real good job with quality. Most of the bikes that BMW makes comes out of Germany, and that's been long-standing, though they are expanding their footprint a little bit into the worldwide manufacturing market. And so they have a brand new model coming out at the end of this year. It'll be a 27 model year. And it extends the GS family, the very famous GS family. It is the F450 GS. And that bike is going to be manufactured. It's designed, concepted, designed, tested in Germany, but it will be produced, manufactured in India. So BMW has partnered with a company there, TVS, and they're a top producer, a real top factory. And so some of the early reviews, which I've just seen on the 450 GS, look really good, and that bike has got a lot of good things going for it, and I hope to be able to ride that after it comes out. With regard to warranty and BMW Motorcycles, they provide a across-the-board 3-year, 36-month unlimited mile warranty on all their bikes. The other thing that they are packaging here, and this is just as of late, this last year or two, is they include the first service. So that would be your oil change, complete check over. That's all included in your purchase as well. All right, what about Kawasaki? Well, their bikes are primarily designed, engineered in Japan. They have manufacturing in Japan, but they also have plants all over the world. So we're talking about Thailand and Brazil and Indonesia. In fact, a quick story for you. I used to own a 650 Versus, Kawasaki Versus, and that bike, guess where it's made? Thailand. So again, I think depending on where the bikes go, they've got plants set up to run the various models. And overall, the Kawasaki Versus, really good machine, well built, capable. It's got a bulletproof motor. So there you go, Kawasaki. They've got plants all over the place as well. All right, Kawasaki, in terms of where do they fit in quality? I think, Japanese brand, they've been around a long time. They're part of quite a industrial complex, and they do all kinds of other things too. So their quality, I think, is ranked very good. And then in terms of warranties on bikes, it varies a little bit, but the Versus 650, the Kawasaki Versus 650, came with a 2-year warranty. So that was nice. A lot of the standard bikes, like the Z models, the Z500, the Z650, the Z900, those I believe are all 1-year warranties. All right, let's talk a little bit about KTM. KTM has been in the news over the last year or two. They've fallen on some hard times. They have a new owner now, and the new owner is Bajaj Auto, and that's in India. But primarily their manufacturing does occur in Austria. They have a heck of a plant there. But they're also using some other plants, and China is involved, Brazil, and India for sure. So hopefully they can continue to turn the corner and deliver another option. The orange brand, the Ready to Race brand. I did own a 390 Adventure, which I really enjoyed. And that's before I moved over to the Triumph Scrambler, and that 390 Adventure was made in India, in the Bajaj plant there, Bajaj Auto. Okay, a little bit about KTM quality. I think on the perception scale, KTM might have been just a little bit lower than where a Honda would be or a Kawasaki would be. And they've had some issues a couple of years back, I know, with 790 and 890 Adventure, some bearing issues and some other stuff, but so they still produce good quality product, but maybe just a hair below Honda. with KTM and their warranty, very interestingly, as they're going through this major transition and now owned by a new entity, it was back just last year that that would have been in 25, that they decided to put some muscle behind their warranty. And so 4 years now is what they offer on their models, a 4-year warranty. So that that does say a lot. So CF Moto, it's a motorcycle brand that really is developing a lot of momentum. And in fact, I'm going to be going over to Road America here soon, and I'm going to talk to some of the people from the factory. But they are located in China. They are doing all their engineering, testing, concepting, and their production facility. I read just the other day about their facility is massive where they're making motorcycles. It's 1.6 million square feet. So how does that compare to a building size? Well, if any of you know Fond du Lac and Highway 41, as you're heading up north, when you get to Fond du Lac, you see Mercury Marine on the right-hand side. I used to work there. I was given plant tours. That's about what you see there on that right-hand side along the highway is about 1 million square feet. So take another half of that, add that on, and that's the CF Moto facility there in China. So that's where they're making their product. All right, with CF Moto, what about quality? Where is their perception in the marketplace? And I think, you know, perception is starting to change. There's one particular model in their lineup right now. It's called the Ibex 450. And so it's a twin cylinder, smaller displacement adventure bike, and it has gotten terrific reviews. And in terms of the performance and characteristics, the engine, the smoothness, the quality, the fit and finish, it's all there. So I think that there is definitely a shift. I think previously product coming from that area maybe was considered, not sure. But I think as time is rolling out, you know, we're learning more. And then in terms of the warranty for CF Moto, all of their bikes come with a 2-year warranty. So they're standing behind it. And there's quite a few dealers just in my backyard here. If we go up to De Pere, they're a CF Moto dealer. Go to Fond du Lac, they're a CF Moto dealer. You go down to Cedarburg, they're a CF Moto dealer. And let's see, you get into Milwaukee and there's some more of it. So it's really starting to become a player. And, you know, we'll see what happens, but it looks like they're producing some pretty quality bikes. All right, what about Harley Davidson these days? They're going through some new leadership changes. They have a new CEO. They're trying to figure out their product platform. They're trying to bring in new riders, younger riders. And so on the docket, they have a new model. It's called the Sprint. It's supposed to be more budget friendly. I think it's around a 400cc bike. And so I think later this year or first part of next year, that's supposed to hit the market. And they have it pegged somewhere between $6,000 and $9,000. But in terms of what about their manufacturing? So mostly US. So you've got Milwaukee, you've got Kansas City, you've got York, Pennsylvania. And then they do have plants and facilities that they utilize outside. Brazil and India and Thailand are some spots. And I also think there's some things that they source out of China as well. So Harley Davidson, also using the worldwide marketplace to execute on their market plan. All right, what about quality with Harley Davidson? I think overall, you know, they've done a good job with quality. Again, like Honda, they're not immune from having certain things pop up and recalls. They tried to go full force into some ventures with electric motorcycles. That has not worked out well. There were early recalls, all kinds of things there. Harley Davidson just recently had a recall for a breather. This would be on the touring bikes, and they had a breather hose coming off the crankcase area that possibly would get plugged. It could have a stall condition. So they had that going on, and I think there's been just a couple of other things that they continue to work through. But overall, I think their quality has been pretty good. As far as warranty goes, my understanding is Harley-Davidson's come with a 2-year warranty, so that's pretty good as well. All right, Indian Motorcycles. Well, here's a US-based company. They were part of Polaris Industries, but no longer, because here just in the last year there was a transfer of ownership to a standalone company, so they have been pulled out of Polaris. And there is a company called Carolwood LP, so it's a limited partnership. They have a new CEO with a lot of experience within the industry and several different companies that he's worked for. And so they're basically now working to bring a lot of focus to just making motorcycles. So their facility, Spirit Lake, Minnesota, I think it is. Let me just double check here on my notes. Correction, that is Spirit Lake, Iowa, is where their manufacturing and assembly occurs for the Indian Motorcycle Group under Carolwood LP. So what about their quality in general? I'm not sure. I don't know a lot of people who ride Indians. I see a few around, and I think overall they've been a formidable competitor to Harley-Davidson. I know one person out in Arizona who used to ride Harley who made a switch to Indian. He went from a Street Glide to a Chieftain, and when I asked him about why, he was talking about just the ride quality. He thought the suspension was better. There was more suspension travel, and as he was in his 70s, he wanted something that just felt better. So I think, you know, they've been a good competitor. They've launched some new models, some new engines, and all of that. So again, most of their manufacturing in Iowa, though in some of the articles I read, they do source internationally, parts, tires, all the some of the components that come in. Well, let's not forget about Yamaha. I've owned several Yamaha motorcycles over my riding career, and those would include like the Dual Sport, the XT250. I used to have one of those to head over to Road America. That was a nice bike. On the more sportier side, I owned an MT-09. This goes back probably 6-7 years ago, and that was a really excellent bike for sure. If we go back a little bit ahead of that, when Yamaha was making the 3-cylinder FJ09, and had that bike, and then probably the funnest bike that I had was the Yamaha FJR, and all of those, you know, just really good quality product. And Yamaha has a great reputation for quality. And so when we look at what about where motorcycles from Yamaha are built, they've got a couple of flagship plants in Japan, but they're also using Indonesia, they're using Thailand, they're using Vietnam and India, and then they also have some assembly in the United States where they are producing, I think, some of the UTVs. There's some manufacturing for their marine division here in the U.S. as well. So in terms of warranty for Yamaha, most of the Yamaha bikes that I've ever owned have had just 1-year warranties on them. And so overall though, Yamaha continues to be a top producer, and again, they are making motorcycles, you know, very efficiently, and they're using high standards of advanced manufacturing, whether it's the robotics, lean process, Kaizen, all those kind of things as well. So good job, Yamaha. Last but not least is the brand Royal Enfield. And so I believe they are the longest continuous running production motorcycle company, 1901. So they've got a great lineup. I recently saw a display that they had over at Road America. Lots of cool bikes, and I did get to demo ride this bike right here, which is the Himalayan, and had a great time on that. And I'll tell you, they're making some quality motorcycles, so I'm putting their quality right up there with many of the others. They have a 3-year warranty. I think that says a lot about how they're standing behind things. And yeah, they're all made in India. Their headquarters and their manufacturing is in India. And I think when I think about India and what they're doing with Triumph Motorcycles and others, and now KTM and the Bajaj plant, it's speaking a lot about how far they really are moving into a global manufacturing powerhouse. So it's pretty neat to see, and good job by Royal Enfield. Well, it sure looks like that most manufacturers have aligned themselves with manufacturing facilities for some models over in Asia, in China, in Thailand, in India, and so that model seems to be working for them. Almost all of them are doing it. So the perception of quality for manufacturing that was coming out of Asia and that area was not as well received years ago, but I think those days are over. When you look at these plants that have been built and you think about the worldwide standards, you think about the quality control, and then I've seen firsthand some of the bikes that are being built, and they're doing a heck of a job. So I think the quality has really come a long way. I think the warranties on motorcycles continue to get better and better when I think about, well, what KTM did, 4 years, Honda Goldwing, 3 years, Moto Marini is 3 years right out of the box, CF Moto 2 years, Indian 2 years, Harley Davidson 2 years. So I think the manufacturer has really stepped up to say, hey, we're building a quality product here, and you can feel confident. Now the other side of that, I think, in terms of being taken care of as a customer, is that you want to align yourself with a really good dealer. You want to get to know them. You want to meet the service people. You might want to know who the owner is and really know that they've got your back. If you got an issue, that they're going to work to take care of you, because that dealer is such an important middle person in the whole process. Thanks for watching this episode of Garage Talk here at Mark's Garage. Really appreciate it. Lots going on. The worldwide marketplace of manufacturing is booming, and our motorcycles are made all over the place, aren't they? One final comment that I want to make about this big topic about global motorcycle manufacturing, and it comes from the famous baseball player and manager from the New York Yankees, Yogi Berra. And he had lots of phrases, but there's one in particular that always stood out to me. And his phrase, quote, was, "The future ain't what it used to be." And I think that perfectly summarizes where we're at with global motorcycle manufacturing. Thanks again for watching.
Voy a cantar esta canción con mucho cariño de mi corazón a la República Dominicana.